Ladies and gentlemen, this came out in Fox News, July 17th, 2019. Chicago has been in the news for a long time now for all kinds of violence, and much of that violence is not even coming from the people that you think. But the mayor has recently came out and said the police are losing the streets to major eruptions of violence. Now, the Chicago police is responsible for a lot of the violence that's going on there. They're not trying to bust up violence at all. And don't ever forget the fact that Chicago police have the worst crime solving record in the entire country, which tells you right there they ain't trying to resolve any crime going on there. So, of course, eventually it's going to just spiral out of control. It's been a long time of this. They have a horrible crime solving record. So that tells me you're not interested in solving anything. I mean, let's call it what it is. They're not interested in resolving anything there. So I'm going to go ahead. Let me just go ahead and play this video for y'all. Let's see here.
We're getting multiple calls about people shot. We got at least 2 confirmed gunshot victims home in Iowa, possibly a third one in Chicago and home.
It was a deadly 4th of July weekend for many in the city of Chicago. 5 people shot and killed, 62 others wounded. Mayor Lori Lightfoot deploying 1,500 additional officers to work overtime to patrol the city streets there over the holiday. A police department spokesman says those efforts seem to be helping stem some of the violence. The CPD tweeting this out. Since 6 p.m. Wednesday, July 3rd, 65 people have been arrested on gun possession charges in Chicago. 138 guns have been taken off city streets over same time period. Hashtag 4th of July. Joining us now, Kevin Graham, president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. We appreciate your time this morning, sir. Can you update us on what exactly happened over the holiday weekend in Chicago? What was seen?
We had officers with their days off canceled. We had, as you already stated, about 1,500 extra police officers who normally would have been off came into work, and it has helped. Back in 2016, at this same time frame, we had approximately 2,000 people shot in the city of Chicago. Last year, it was about 1,350, and not including this weekend, we had about 1,250 for people shot in the city of Chicago. So the trend is going down. We've been hiring more police officers. We are not to the numbers where we need to be. We still need to hire more police officers. Certainly it would help to get a police contract, which we've been without for 2 years. Yeah. But we have deployed a number of police officers over the weekend, over the holiday weekend, and it has helped to keep down the number of shootings.
Yeah, and we had our brain room dig up some of those numbers just to paint the overall the picture and the trend that you're talking about there. The first half of 2019, and I should note that these numbers do not include what just happened over the 4th of July weekend. There's been 238 murders in the city of Chicago so far this year. That's down 7% from the previous year, which you were just acknowledging, Kevin. Shooting incidents, there's been 980. That's down double digits from the nearly 1,100 shooting incidents during the same time last year, or at the same point last year. So what needs to happen to bring those numbers down even more? Because this was still an extremely violent weekend that the city of Chicago saw over a holiday weekend, Kevin.
Correct. And what I had already stated was we do need to hire more police officers. We cannot continually cancel people's days off every single weekend. We can't, we've got to let them have some time with their families. We need to hire more police officers. We need to get a police contract. We need to be engaged with the community more. Certainly the FOP took the initiative this weekend. We were at a church cooking hamburgers at a community in a block party in one of the South Side neighborhoods. And we're trying our best to communicate well with the public, and hopefully that'll in turn give us information coming back to the police department so we can curb the shooting epidemic that we have had in the past.
Also, what about the effort there by the city and the city's mayor, Lori Lightfoot, to take guns off the city streets? 138 guns, the CPD tweeted out, have been taken off city streets over the holiday weekend alone. Talk about those efforts.
You know, up till this year, we have confiscated over 5,000 illegal weapons, illegal guns on the streets of the city of Chicago. We're on pace to have a record-breaking year. We may get 10,000 illegal guns off the street. So we are certainly doing the Chicago police officers are doing a phenomenal job under very difficult conditions. And I can't say enough on how proud I am of the work that the officers do. So we are trying to have additional meetings with the mayor, and we're doing our best to communicate our ideas on how to protect the people of the city of Chicago.
Well, the trend is certainly hopeful and promising. We hope that it continues. Kevin, I want to ask you about this news over the weekend at a Starbucks in Tempe, where a bunch of police officers were asked to leave that particular Starbucks. There was a complaint by a customer there. They were asked to leave. Starbucks has since apologized for this, and executives are meeting with Tempe police after this incident happened. Wanted to get your response to that this morning. I'm sure it's something that you all are talking about.
First of all, I think that there are people who just do not like the police. Mostly they are criminals, and for whatever reason, they don't want to have anything to do with the police. That doesn't mean that we are second-class citizens and we should be asked to leave a place of business simply because you don't like the police or you're uncomfortable with the police. The police are there to protect you, and we have a difficult job to do, and we expect the respect that we have earned, both by our positions and the hard work that we have done over the years.
Well, we respect you, and we thank you for the work that you and the men and women in your force do every single day. Kevin Graham, thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, this guy is full of crap, okay? It's always funny that in Chicago, every time these shootings take place, all of a sudden the cameras don't work, y'all. Don't fall for this. We have seen all these, and why are the mass shootings only taking place on the weekend? Ask yourself that. Why? How come it's not happening during the week? It's a consistent pattern of these shootings happening on the weekend. So you mean to tell me gangs all week long, they get along, but then when the weekends come, they're shooting at each other? That ain't happening, y'all. That ain't happening. You got to be an idiot to believe that. And Chicago have cameras all over the place. I had a cousin that lived in Chicago. I have subscribers that are in Chicago. They can tell you exactly what Chicago is like, and it is nothing like what you white people are describing. I can tell you that right off the bat. I even know that from my cousin. Number two, how come there's cameras all over the damn city of Chicago, but every time these shootings happen, the cameras don't pick up nothing? Who's messing with the cameras? How come the cameras are either switched off or they're just not working altogether? Why is that consistent with all of the shootings? Every time these shootings happen, as soon as you ask them about the camera, oh, well, you know, the cameras, they weren't on at the time. Why? You know, see, this goes back to them trying to take us for idiots. And it goes back to this point. Never trust what you are being told. Always research and try to piece it together yourself. It's just like when they talk about all the violence in Chicago, but these same people that talk about the violence will not talk about how poorly the Chicago police is as far as resolving any crimes. They conveniently not talk about that. And then they'll tell you, well, you gonna need the police. Yeah, well, you all say that. Never forget this. They did this up in New York, y'all. They got mad at all the protests and everything that were going on. The cops got mad, and then they refused to patrol certain areas. As soon as the police stopped patrolling certain areas in New York, the crime went down. The crime went down. Listen to me now. As soon as the police disappeared from certain areas up in New York, the crime went down. And then they became butt sore about that. So if the crime went down, who's keeping the crime up? The cops. The cops. They're keeping all the tension and the crime going. See, these folks are not there to stop crime. They are there to keep the divisions and everything in the community going. That's their job. With the amount of cops that are in these areas, it should literally be no crime. But why is it so flooded with all these cops, but the crime is still off the charts? Because the cops are the ones keeping the crime going. That's why as soon as they disappeared from certain areas in New York, the crime went down. It went down, y'all. It went down. And as soon as crime went down in these quote unquote bad black areas, they went completely silent. In New York, the cops went silent. And I promise you, if the cops would get out of those areas in Chicago, the crime would go down to nothing. It would go down to nothing, y'all. And I want you to also remember who's buying those black latex masks. You know, those real like latex African American masks. Who's buying those? And what's the purpose in buying it? To go out there, commit a crime, and look like a black man did it. And if you think that's not going on in Chicago, you got another thought coming. So if the crime went down after the cops got out of the black areas, the crime will go down if the cops get out of those areas in Chicago. Never forget that. Never, ever forget that. Without the cops, the people were able to live in peace. That's what happened. So don't let these people try to con you into believing you're going to need the cops. Those cops disappeared and the crime went down. It went down. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.